That was wonderful.
All right, we are going live. Welcome back to the Little Shy live stream review. We just witnessed Yakity-Sax.
Yes, we did.
Are we
We
all half
did.
asleep? Because I know I am. My alarm didn't go off this morning.
I mean, I woke up at the right time, but
Been up since 1, and I'm full with pony right now.
I can't say I was far off from that, waking up at 9.
Anyways, so this was actually an interesting episode. I think it's a lot different than what we're used to in Season 8. It felt like a simple, classic Season 1 episode with a twist. And that's how I would describe it. What do you guys think?
I like
don't know.
My Little Pony episodes that have that twist and stuff. This episode seemed really perfect for it, and it was the right episode to.
Well, let me ask, what about it felt like a Season 1 episode?
The fact it's about all the main six. There's no Starlight, no students, no school. It's just about the main six and a main six problem, and it's resolved by the main six. That's really all. And the twist is that they went to Yakystan. That's different than usual.
Huh. So I guess it's like nostalgic in a way because it lacks all of the new characters.
That's how I feel, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Some would say it's a bad thing, like, oh, it's a simple, boring episode. But no, I liked it because of it kind of went in that style. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
I don't know,
I would actually argue that that is not a great way of thinking, because the thing is, if you just please to the moment, it's just just by the characters that were chosen to be used, then it's not really that great, because I mean, if I just worked that way, I would just instantly love every episode that Starlight is in.
Oh no, it's not just the fact that it features only the main six, but also that it actually feels like a classic main six episode about, the problem is with one of them and the rest have to figure it out together. I don't know. It's not just because it's only the it's if the students were in this or Starlight was in this, it wouldn't really ruin it for me.
Yeah, it's just I mean, like, that's pretty basic template. I mean, that's.
I think the way I would say it is that's the nostalgia speaking.
A lot of episodes were about. Yeah, I would definitely say, at least to me, it feels like there's probably a lot of nostalgia speaking.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not allowed to like ponies now. Is that it?
No, you're not allowed to like ponies. Screw you.
No.
No, but yeah, I think the way I think it didn't feel like a season 1 episode, because even though it was about the classic main six, they've changed a lot over the years, and that was still noticeable.
We got a couple. They mentioned twice about the Celestia episode how she was a bad actor, and they didn't want to tell her she was a bad actor. And I think that was a good example of them referencing something they learned in the past and applying it.
Speaking of details that are kind of consistent and kind of continuous, I want to believe this is intentional, but the fact that she likes what was it called, the Uvitophone, I think.
Yep.
Uvitophone. We've noticed that she is a really big fan of wind instruments. I mean, look at the flugelhorn, and then the Swarm of the Century, where she had the whole whatever you want to call it, one-person band.
She does like weird instruments.
So I would like to believe that's something they did intentionally. Like, oh, okay, this is her characteristic. She likes this. Let's show that off.
Yeah, I think it's fitting, and it kind of requires a silliness. That 1 second she doesn't even know what it is, the next second she loves it, and then she nonstop plays it, and all of a sudden she acts like it's okay to not play it, and then she gets depressed and turns into Pink Amina, which is a big deal. We should probably talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something being intentional. I wonder. I have to bring it up. Was it intentional that Rainbow Dash and Pink Amina make cupcakes? It has to be. There's no way. There's no way they didn't know what they were doing there.
After mentioning all the details that you did, I definitely think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's 100%, but I'm 80% certain that was intentional.
Has to be. I mentioned this in the call earlier, but for the sake of the review,
was.
if they were to do the cupcake scene or baking scene, they would have done Pinkie Pie and Applejack, just like season 1. That'd be like a callback, right? That'd be just as much as a reference. But no, the bigger reference is they specifically chose Rainbow Dash and cupcakes. That has to be a reference.
It was
with the straight hair.
It was a great throwback to Party of One, which I absolutely loved. So this was a good episode.
Yeah, when it comes to Pink Amina, Pinkie Pie with straight hair, I've always, whenever we have an episode where she's sad, even going back to like season 2, she'd be sad about something. I'd be like, oh, is she gonna turn back into Pinkamena? Like that was always a hope of mine. And even when I saw this episode for the first time, I was thinking, oh, she's gonna be depressed, isn't she? But they would never turn her into Pinkamena, would they?
That's it.
Earlier, I'm sure you heard me say, "Oh man, I hope we don't see a party of one."
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the very next scene, we see straight hair.
It's a really nice surprise.
I don't know.
Also, now with that, most likely Cupcake reference, I'm just starting to think, when will they finally do a Rainbow Factory reference? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
you did one, now
there
do
is
the other.
a Rainbow Factory in the show in
yeah.
Cloudsdale.
Oh, well, I think that's what the fanfic's based on, actually.
Yeah, well, I know. Obviously,
Yeah.
it isn't a callback, but
they could probably still like make a reference in a way how, just bring up the Rainbow Factory and then have it done in a way where it, seems a bit menacing, and then that's the reference or something, or whatever.
I don't know how they would pull that off.
Yeah, I'm sure they could somehow, but
whatever. Anyway, back to the episode.
What's interesting is they mentioned Pinkie Pie's been playing the Uvitophone for moons. Does that mean like months or weeks or days?
They've used moons for a length of time forever now.
Yeah.
I still don't know exactly what the measurement is.
Well, I remember back in the early days.
I have no idea how much it is either. It triggers me so much.
Back in the early days, it was specifically vague. I think it was Jason Thiessen actually said, "Oh, we don't say what moons are. They're just kind of vague on purpose." But maybe it's different these days. Maybe that actually means something. And Equestria Girls, I think, did moons. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But another. So yeah, I mentioned this earlier. But the thing is, I really want to bring up again how when they were presented with the conflict of, what should we do? Pinkie Pie's playing is terrible. It's affecting everyone negatively, and she's just too happy to even notice. And they say, well, Twilight's first thought is we just cast a spell on her or something. Some brute force Starlight solution.
Yes. I wrote that down. I wrote down that I'm happy that they did not go the
Starlight
use magic to fix the issue way.
Yeah.
And then what would happen, if I know the show at all, is it would backfire in a way.
Yeah.
And suddenly she loves to play every other instrument or something.
like the Swarm of the Century. Yeah, we just watched that one recently.
Yeah, and then bats. That's another example of when they did that. I was like, I hope
It's interesting
I'm
how
glad that they didn't go that route.
We can just review episodes these days by saying, "Oh, it's like this episode, but not like this episode." 10 out of 10. We don't have to talk objectively. We can just compare it to past Pony episodes.
I guess so.
I liked how the Yaks told Pinkie Pie, the truth. And that's what makes the Yaks so interesting.
But really quick,
coming
back to well, I just really quickly mention while we're on the topic, when they first present the conflict of them having to tell Pinkie Pie, they specifically say, and I wrote this down. They mentioned it twice. Remember when we didn't tell Celestia she was a bad actor and that didn't work out so well, and points to them for that continuity and actually applying a lesson like that. But also, I feel like that wasn't a great episode they referenced.
Oh, so you're just...
So I'm torn. It's like, I don't want to remember that one with the Celestia that wasn't so great. And yet, at the same time, this is a good example of them applying a learned lesson. So yeah, I'm kind of back and forth on that.
Pretty much.
Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The simpler formula kind of didn't really make the episode too great for me. I think I don't know. I don't want to say boring. I feel like that would be too... I don't know.
Well, even I struggle to kind of pinpoint how to explain it. Magma kind of tore apart what I said earlier about it. Oh, it's about the main six, so therefore I love it. But no, it is more than that for me. It just feels like a classic episode. Not just because of nostalgia, but because there was something special about the classic episodes. That's where the Brony fandom was forged, after all. So there is something there.
What was that thing?
What?
What was that thing?
I think a simplicity that we can learn to appreciate despite it being just a simple kid's show. There was a simplicity to this episode that kept it... Well, that's the thing. It kind of goes back and forth. Pinkamena was a big surprise going to Yakity-Sax. We had some jokes in there. There was a lot of modern-day Pony in this episode, but the foundation of this episode is based in a classic Season 1 episode, I feel. Does that make any sense?
I mean, I get what you mean, totally.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that really makes the episode for me.
Oh, I'm not saying...
It kind of makes it boring for me.
Yeah, I'm not even saying that makes it the best episode ever. I'm just saying that was something I liked in it.
Yeah, and I personally would say that's because of nostalgia.
Yeah, probably is.
Yeah.
Nostalgia all the way.
All right, well, should we go right into the ratings or what?
Well, we do have a little bit more time if we want to chat, but I think we covered everything.
One
Maybe we mentioned a lot.
one more thing I'd like to mention about the Sunday scene that reminded me of the SpongeBob movie when.
Oh well, that's just a long-running gag in cartoons about
Goofy
it's an
Right.
alcohol joke,
Well,
really.
I do think it's funny that he was pointing it out as I was typing that she's a goofy goober.
She's a recovering ice cream alcoholic or ice cream aholic.
You're a goofy goober now.
So, one more thing was the humor. Oh, excuse me, it just burped. These writers, they have a certain style of humor. I noticed it's kind of it's not bad, but it's like a repetitive humor. Like they'll repeat things over and over, and that's why it's funny. And there's a lot of jokes in here that work, but they just feel weird. Anybody notice that, or it's just me?
I guess one of the examples you're going to be using is and a 1 and a 2 and I know what to do.
Yeah, well, that one's fine. Yeah, that's the usual repetitive running thing in an episode. I like that. That was a little bit of continuity throughout. But like for example, the mod joke. Oh, do I even have a screenshot of that? It's like, can I ask you a question? You just did. Can I ask you a question? You just did. Can I ask you? Oh wait, like that's the joke. Yeah. And it was funny. I'm not saying it wasn't funny. I'm not saying I didn't like the humor. But I don't know. It did feel different
to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
It felt different. Anybody else notice that? Maybe not.
I think something we should also talk about was kind of the way they resolved it, which is one of my biggest problems with this episode.
Well, yeah, I can agree. It kind of just worked itself out, really, with the yaks actually liking it.
Yeah. Also, the way they treat it, it's just there's a lot of problems there. Like, in the end, the message it basically sends is, yeah, it's all right if Pinky does it because she's enjoying it, and that's the problem, because it's not all right if she just does it because she enjoys it. She can do it if she enjoys it, but the main problem throughout the whole episode was that she was bothering others. She was just ruining others' lives by being there and annoying them. And the way this was resolved, that didn't really send the message that it's not okay for her to bother people with it. So it kind of just sets it back for Pinky to think, oh, it's okay if I do it. They should have done it in a more specific way, where it's like, you can do it, but do it where you don't bother others.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I don't think that was specifically supposed to be the moral here. I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're definitely right. The implied moral there is kind of messed up and not quite right. The speculation is that maybe now that she knows she won't play it and annoy people, maybe she'll stay in Yakity-Sax where they apparently like it. My gripe would be that they like it. Like, that's not established. Why would they? Usually, she mentioned that yaks like perfection, and they actually mentioned that themselves in the episode or whatever, and that's been a long-running thing with the yaks. And now they just changed that for this one time, just to make this one point for this one happy ending. That's a little.
No, according to them, they're definitely that it was perfect because she enjoyed it.
Yeah, but that's
So
not that's not
technically-
really normal for them.
But the thing is, there's one problem I have with that, especially that this like implies that most important thing for them is intention, and before they have already. When the yaks were introduced, in the very episode where they were introduced, they ignored intention and were just mad because something wasn't perfect. They just started destroying everything.
They were
even though
pretty bullheaded.
It was made with, everything was made with good intentions. So I'm thinking now, why would they care about intentions with this specific thing while they didn't do that in others?
That is kind of a break from the yaks. But,
that's one of the biggest arguments to support the position of this doesn't make sense.
I guess, so in terms of criticism, it was just too easy of a happy ending, maybe, and it kind of went against existing yak lore or yak characterization. I mean, I don't feel like these are big enough things to like ruin the episode for me personally. I feel like that, for example, we can speculate that now that Pinky knows that she was annoying ponies, she just won't play near them. She can play in Yakity-Sax. Like, that's a solution that wasn't really explained. I don't think it was explained, but I think we can just assume that's the case there. So it's not so much about, you mentioned earlier about Pinkie Pie, it's okay to annoy ponies. I don't think that's what they were going for here. Anyway, you guys want to jump into ratings?
Of course.
All right.
Sure.
All right, so I guess we'll do about 3-minute ratings each. We have fewer people here today, so you want to start us off, Drummer Shy?
Yeah, sure. Love this episode. I think this is probably one of the, in my personal opinion, best episodes of the season.
Really?
Great. No, seriously, I really fell in love with this episode. It was really good. Even though I'm tired, I'll go watch it again. It again, as you mentioned, it was a great throwback to Party of One, Pinkie Pie being, emotional and all that sort of stuff. Um, as you mentioned, just mentioning, Celestia's bad acting with Pinkie Pie's bad Uvinophone playing. Um, and it shows that Pinkie Pie does have emotions and all that. I don't have anything much to say about this episode. I'd say it's good. I'm not blind praising or blind hating this. I saw this before. Good episode. I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10.
Wow. All right. Pretty high rating. I'm next, but I'm gonna wrap things up. So Magma, what'd you think?
I originally thought of this episode when I originally watched it. It was an okay episode. Now I'm more in the direction of it's not a good episode. It wasn't absolutely terrible like some of the episodes that we've seen in this season. This season has been really inconsistent and sadly on the bad side, where it was sometimes we just had the occasional great episode, but mostly it was just either okay episodes or outright bad or terrible ones. And this one's more of the not so good side for me, because like I said, I have a major problem with the resolve. The way Twilight said it to Pinkie that she is not good. Like, it seemed disingenuous what she claimed to be her intention, and that just bothered me a lot. And in the end, I can just only really say, while there were some good moments, overall it doesn't really hold up that much, and I can't really give it more than a 4.5.
Wow. All right. So got a high one and a low one. Mister, what'd you think?
All right. So, overall, speaking in summary about the episode, it didn't really keep my interest. And as mentioned before, I want to say that's because of the simple formula, which you found enjoyable, obviously, because for probably nostalgia. It reminds you a lot of a season 1 episode. But for me personally, I mean, I've seen the episodes, season 1 episode, but for me, even I wasn't really too nostalgic about it, and that just made it more boring for me, I guess. I guess there were some little details throughout the episode that I enjoyed, like I mentioned earlier, her consistent love of horns with the flugelhorn and Storm of the Century with the one-person band. I want to believe that was intentional. The fact that they did not instantly use magic to resolve the issue and then have it backfire, which is something we've seen them do multiple times and is kind of boring at this point. And yeah, because of what I mentioned prior, just kind of boring. I don't even want to say boring. I'd say just not as interesting. Just because it wasn't as interesting, I'd say I'm neutral on it. I think Doughboy in the chat had a really good way to put it, which was just It was just So 5 out of 10, I'd say.
All right.
Neutral.
5 out of 10 from Mister. Suppose it's my turn, and I'm here to defend it. So, really quick, before I even start my portion, I want to mention that this episode did air early on Discovery Family, so it was a U.S. air early, but it aired like during the week, and we didn't review it then because it wasn't a normal Saturday morning episode. Like season 8 hadn't even returned at that point. So this episode's like what, a month old now at this point? But anyway, I just wanted to set that for the record. So a lot of season 8 episodes, a lot of season 7 episodes, we get like this big blockbuster event, something big spoiler event, some big character return. The premieres and finales, usually we get like some big disaster to overcome. And then we have simple episodes that kind of stagger in between during that season. And I think this is a perfect example of one of those simple episodes. I could almost call it filler, but only in the best possible way, because it serves as a way to like round out all these big episodes where something crazy happens. And here we have an episode that's just relatively simple. It just features the main 6, and it's mostly featured in Ponyville. And again, you guys tore it apart earlier for saying it's just blinding nostalgia, but no, it really does feel like a simple episode that harkens back to earlier seasons. Not so much that it goes all the way to be just like a season 1 or season 2 episode, because there's a lot of differences here. There's, obviously Pinkamena Return is a big deal. That's kind of very season 80 of them to just bring back a character willy-nilly like that. That's kind of a complaint, actually, that just sort of happens. And, of course, we see Yaks and, stuff like that. But anyway, again, I like the simplicity of this episode. I wouldn't want to see every episode like this. But I do like seeing simple episodes like this kind of in between bigger episodes where crazier things happen. That doesn't mean, I don't think there's a problem with simple episodes. I don't really know how to word it better than that. But hold on, let me really quickly look at my notes. I had a couple other things here. And again, the humor was a little bit weird. There were a lot of things about this that felt very season 8 and new and different. And it was more of a subtle feeling of it being a simpler episode, harkening back to like season 1 that I liked. And of course, we got some funny jokes. We got Absolutely. We got some mod jokes. Mod's always fun. We also got making cupcakes with Dash. I mentioned this during the review, but of course it has to be a reference. That alone makes this relatively significant as an episode. And so yeah, the ending was kind of a little bit weak. I don't feel like it like ruined the episode for me. It wasn't very satisfying. It just sort of ended. Everyone's happy at the end. That's not great, but personally, I don't really dig into it as much as Magma might or someone else in the chat might. I didn't think it was a big deal. Anyway, so I'm giving this one a solid 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I wouldn't want to see every episode like this, but again, I thought it was a pretty good episode. So I give it a 7. Let's go ahead and calculate our average. You want to give us a drum roll, Drummer Shy?
No, I'm tired.
All right. Well, the average rating for the Little Shy Livestream reviews for Yakity-Sax is 6.1. We'll round that to 6.
All right.
Let me write that down.
Not
6.
bad.
So, yeah, a little bit low for me personally. But, yeah, I can understand where a lot of the criticism is coming from. This isn't a perfect episode by any means. But, yeah. Anyway, thanks for stopping by, everyone. Hope you enjoyed our review. And hope to see you next week. Goodbye.
See ya.
Farewell.